Your blouse.
Oh, thank you.
A reason to dress up, right?
You're on early, Pop.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make sure I was able to get on,
Oh, okay.
and I got on.
He wanted to make sure he got a good seat so he could see you.
Yes, right.
Yeah, right.
Right in the middle between the rabbi and the cantor.
Hi, Saul.
Hi, Saul.
Hi.
Hi, Saul. Is Mom with you too, Saul?
She's over there somewhere on the couch.
So I didn't know we're a year into using Zoom. I didn't know that you could drag and drop your squares to sit wherever you want.
Yes, you can. Like if you're on a computer, you can just drag where you want it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's only taken me a year to figure it out. It's
Well,
okay.
don't feel too bad. It's a relatively new feature,
It's a
Rabbi.
new feature, yeah.
Oh, good.
Good morning. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Jackie.
But shalom.
Hi, John. Shabbat Shalom.
So it's so nice that you're coming out, on services. It's so good to see you. It's so
Yeah,
good
I
that
enjoy it.
yeah,
Hi, Jackie.
it's
Good
wonderful.
morning.
Good
Shabbat
morning.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Like
Hi,
your
Shelley.
glasses. Hi.
Oh, these are my old readers.
Oh, they're cute.
Thank you. I just bought new ones. I can't wait to get them already.
So-
New glasses.
So do they, the readers, do they have anything in it that what? The strength that you need to read your,
Right, it just magnifies it.
oh,
It doesn't give me any kind of distance. It just kind of magnifies it. So I use them when I'm reading sometimes if I don't have my regular glasses on. I don't have to wear regular glasses because I had cataract surgery,
oh,
My mom
When
calls
did you
them.
have
but I
that?
feel like I see better.
My mom calls them.
I'm sorry, what?
My mother calls them cheaters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They just can't
Yeah.
help. They just can't help. But I prefer just magnifiers. Just magnifiers.
Yeah, I need new glasses. I'm getting new glasses too, except now I need bifocals.
So it goes.
I wear bifocals.
A lot of the cool kids do. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Happy to see everybody. And we're going to put you on mute just for now and have some time in a little bit for us to be unmuted and to have some discussion around Torah as well. Happy as always to see you. And looks to be, we said this morning in Torah study, already the start of a beautiful day and the continuation of a lovely Shabbat. So we are grateful that you're here with us this morning and hopeful that you are well and in good spirits and can open your heart and your head this morning in prayer and in study and in song and in silence and like I say, in good health. We start each Shabbat morning giving thanks for our physical spaces, right? Wherever each of us is in our physical spaces. And then we kind of draw in a little bit more closely into our bodies and our observance of Shabbat. So we start with Matovu by offering our thanks for our wonderful dwelling places. And then for what allows us to be meaningfully in our dwelling places. So we hope that you'll join us. Cantor will lead us in song and we will begin. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Please join me in Matovu. Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenatecha Yisrael, Matovu, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenatecha Yisrael, Vani berov chasdecha, havo beitecha, eshtachavel al kodshecha, beiratecha, matovu, matovu, Olecha Yaakov, Mishkenatecha Yisrael, Adonai Ahavti, משכן כבודיך, ואני אשתחווה ואקרא ברכה לפני אדוני. עשי מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנתך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני, את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, הנני באמת אישך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנתך ישראל, משכנתך ישראל.
Join together as we say praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. And so we share this bracha, which offers thanks for our well-being and for our bodies. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar umaflila. So we praise you, Holy One, for wondrous acts of creation and healing.
Continue with Elohai Neshama. The soul that you gave me, oh God, is pure. So please join us as we take a deep breath. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi So from Elohai Neshama, we go to Psalm 150, which is the Psalm of Praise. And I invite you to use any instrument. So clap your hands, snap your fingers as we praise God. As we sing Psalm 150, this is one of the happiest psalms. And that's why we sing it on Shabbat. Hallelujah, 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 Bekocho, hallelujah, Birki Yahuzo, hallelujah, Bigvurota. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighted in song, eternal majesty.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמדי ברכירותי וימליך מלכותי, בהיינו וימכן ובהיידך בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונאמתה, דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו Amen.
Let's continue as we rise in body or in spirit with our call to worship, the Baruch Hu. Al Tzion Ta'ir v'nizkehu lanu mehara le'oro. May you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Baruch Atah Adonai, Yotzer Hamerot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic lights. Bring us in peace from the four corners of the earth. Lead us with upright pride to the land that is ours. For you are a God of miracles and wonders. From all the peoples of the earth you sought us out and brought us near to your great enduring truth. So with love we acknowledge and proclaim that you are one. Baruch Atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Our praise to you, Adonai. You have singled out your people Israel with love.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
And please be seated as we continue with the Ve'ahavta.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha b'chol nafshecha ובכל מידיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Continue praying together as we say, Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, the pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame. Stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way, true and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and we rejoice. Adonai, Gal Israel. Let's join together in body or in spirit, and we all come together and we rise for the tefillah.
Adonai sefata tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imatenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor ve'anara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'kaneh hakol, ve'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, u'mevi gila livnei b'nechem leman shema be'ahava, melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaya HaKol, Ata Rav Lechoshia, Morid Chatal, Mechalkel Hayim Bechesed, Mechaya HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Samek Nafli V'Rafeh Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Yafar, Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot, Umida Melech, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emar ad aliyot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. And please join me with Kiddusha, our prayer for holiness. Negadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקורא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, ומשיענו והוא ישמיענו, מרחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים גירושתך נקדיש, ושבחו אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We'll continue. It is an aspiration for our trees to bloom like that. Right, we are so many of us seeing as we walk outside these beautiful bursts of purple, at least on the ground, and some lushness returning. So we notice that, we pay attention to that as we turn to the continuation of the oneg, of the joy of Shabbat, as we join together in the singing of Yitzmechu. As we pray these words together. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat. that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, machazir shchinato l'Tzion. Blessed are you whose divine presence is felt again in Zion. And we offer our thanks and our praise. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha l'chana elahudot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. We continue now with our prayers, our hopes, our aspirations for peace.
So we continue with Sim Shalom that we sing every Shabbat. And if you would like to unmute yourself for the chorus, you know what to do. You can just press on the space bar and sing the chorus. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael Amecha Barcheinu Avinu Kolanu Kechad Me'or Panecha Ki Me'or Panecha Natzata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu.
Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Ein V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael Amecha Torat Chayim V'Achavot Chesed V'Achavot Chesed U'Tzedak Uvracha V'Rachamim V'Chayim V'Shalom.
Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Hein V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael Amamecha V'tov binecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et b'chol shah b'shnamecha.
Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Hein V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yisrael Amecha. Well, thank you, John. Can always count on you.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. And let's continue, each of us, with the resonance of Sim Shalom, with the echo of John and all of you who we hope are praying and singing in your own places. Let's take just a few moments in silence, in prayer, in the deepest recesses of our hearts, offering those prayers of thanks and of wonder and of acknowledgement as we take some time in quiet. Beautiful. A beautiful image for us to imagine the dawning of healing, of wholeness, of strength, of brightness that so many are yearning for right now. As we turn our hearts, our prayers to those who are in need, and we say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et HaCholin. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and give strength to those who for weakness of body or weakness of spirit are struggling. This morning we're holding in our prayers Shana Esther bat Ruchel, Chaya Necha bat Riva Leah, Katriel Parachia ben Herschel Laser v'Shoshana, Sally Graff, Sarah bat Abraham Vissara, William Fawcett Jr., Alan Skirker, Laura Braun, Miriam Butt Ella, Stephen Brent, Rennie Feingold, Meredith Cabanis Ader, Reverend Gordon Webster, Irving Manis, Ralph Bookbinder, Masha Bat-Sheva, Ziad Wabe, Greg Novozenitz, Susan Silton Tobias, Kim Stanger Delisle, Patrick Doherty, Gabriel Berger, Terry Somboyski, and George O'Krent. If there are others whom you would add to this list for healing, for wholeness, for strength, please unmute yourself for a moment and share that name aloud with us, or add that name, please, into the chat box.
Sandra Griffin, Lois Patolnik, Linda Platt.
Sue Boyce.
Moshe Abraham ben Mariam, Milt Clendy, Harry ben Vivian, Dallas ben Amber, Asher ben Tova Gittel, Shlomo Noach ben Fegi Bracha.
And as we do each time we offer this prayer, we add to our list, to those names who you have shared. We add all those who perhaps have no one to say a prayer for them, all those who are caring for others who themselves are ill and struggling, for good, strong health and good countenance. As we say, may God bless and fill with compassion all those whose health is wavering now. May their health, where possible, be restored, and their strength be revived. May God send them renewal of body and renewal of spirit as we join together in saying, Amen. Now with our Seder Kriyat Torah, our service for the reading of Torah. We're delighted, Lindsay, that you'll be sharing words of Torah with us. This morning we're reading from Parshat Shmini, from Leviticus chapters 9 through 11. It is a most compelling, we're going to study it a little bit later on, but a most compelling section of Leviticus that talks about both the sacrificial system and Aaron and his sons and the sacrifices that they offer mistakenly. And then we move very quickly to a discussion around kashrut, about our dietary laws and we make the jump from the sacrifices that were made to that which is fitting for us to in fact partake, and what is permitted for us to eat and not eat, and the reasons why. So without further ado, we will turn Torah reading over to Lindsay and to your grandfather for the Aliyah, which we are delighted to have. We say, right, when we have a bar bat mitzvah, lador vador, right, that Torah reading is meant to go from generation to generation. So we're always thankful when we have 2 and 3 generations reading Torah and sharing words of Torah for us, and those who are coming back to Torah after perhaps a bit of a hiatus. So welcome back.
It is my honor to invite Lindsay's grandfather, Jerry Stenger, for Aliyah, and also my honor to invite Lindsay Hagan to chant from Torah. Thank you, everyone who's been chanting, and for your bravery and diligence. Yamad Yosef ben Shapsel behana Lilia leTorah.
You're muted, Papa.
Jerry, would you like to unmute? You need to unmute. We couldn't hear you. Oh, great. So let's do this again.
Okay, I repeat before.
Thank you.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaBaruch. Baruch Adonai HaBaruch v'olam v'ed. Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bocha bono mikol ha'amim v'nosan lanu es toraso. Baruch Ato Adonai notein hasorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi bayom hashmini karav Moshe la'aharon ulevanav uziknei Yisrael. Vayomer el Aharon kach lecha egel ben bakar techata. V'ayil le'olah temimim v'charev lifnei Adonai. V'al b'nei Yisrael tedaber lemor kehu se'ir izim lechatat v'egel v'cheves b'nei shana temimim le'olam. V'shor v'ayil lishlamim lizboach lifnei Adonai umincha belulav hashamen ki hayom Adonai nira aleichem. Vayikhu et asher tziva Moshe el panei ohel moed vayikrevu kol ha'edah v'ya'amdu lifnei Adonai. Vayomer Moshe zeh hadavar asher tziva Adonai ta'asu vayira aleichem kivod Adonai. Vayomer Moshe el Aharon kerav el hamizbeach va'aseh et chatatcha ve'et olatecha v'chaper be'adcha ba'adcha uva'ad hamen va'aseh et korban ha'am v'chaper be'adam ka'asher tziva Adonai. Vayikrav Aharon el hamizbeach vayishchat et egel hachatat asher lo vayikrivu bnei Aharon et hadam elav vayitbul etzba'o badam vayitain el karnot hamizbeach ve'et hadam yatzak el yesod hamizbeach ve'et hachela ve'et hachlayot ve'et hayoteret mincha kaved mincha chatat vayiktir hamizbeach ka'asher tziva Adonai ed Moshe.
Yasher koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher notan lanu torat emes v'chayei olam naseh b'sasenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen, amen. Yasher koach.
Yasher koach, yasher koach. Beautiful, strong words. Lots of words, a very difficult portion and difficult trope as well. Beautifully, beautifully chanted and beautifully bookended by Jerry, by your bracha. So Lindsay, you should always feel bookended by your parents and by your grandfather as well. And that's how Torah stays alive. That's how we keep it meaningful. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's study a little bit of Torah together. So what you just read for us, I'm gonna share. We're gonna look at this text together. You can make it a little bit bigger on the bottom of your screen or with your view options. I will make it also a little bit bigger for you. Shmini is the Parsha, Lindsay, that you just read. It's a 26th Parsha in our annual cycle of Torah reading, and it tells of the dedication of the tabernacle, as I mentioned before, the laws of kashrut, and then the sudden deaths of two of Aaron's sons. It's a really gripping story. Aaron and his sons follow Moses' instructions and offer sacrifices so that God will forgive them. And Nadav and Abihu often offer alien fire, we're told, or foreign fire to God, and God punishes them by killing them immediately. It is very stark. God forbids Moses and Aaron and his surviving sons from mourning, but commands the rest of the people to do so. And the priests are told not to drink any alcohol before entering the sacred tabernacle and how to continue making their sacrifices. Laws are given to distinguish between, as I mentioned earlier, between pure and impure animals for us, birds, fish, and insects. So this is kind of the summary, Lindsay, of what you just read. And I wonder if we might have somebody who will start our English reading of the Torah portion, that some of which Lindsay just read. We're going to go a little bit further on, but just the English. It's not hard English, I promise. Thank you, Marlene.
On the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. He said to Aaron, "Take a calf of the herd for a purgation offering and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and bring them before the Eternal. And speak to the Israelites, saying, take a he-goat for a purgation offering, a calf and a lamb, yearlings without blemish for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for an offering of well-being to sacrifice before the Eternal, and a meal offering with oil mixed in. For today the Eternal will appear to you."
If you're good to keep going, it sounds good. Sounds good, please.
They brought to the front of the tent of meeting the things that Moses had commanded, and the community leadership came forward and stood before the Eternal. Moses said, "This is what the Eternal has commanded that you do, that the presence of the Eternal may appear to you." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Come forward to the altar and sacrifice your purgation offering and your burnt offering, making expiation for yourself and for the people. And sacrifice the people's offering and make expiation for them, as the Eternal has commanded."
So we have so far, just to catch a breath, right? We have a very detailed and an enumerated list of how to make these offerings, very specific. And then we go on. And Marlene, are you good to keep reading?
Yep.
Okay.
Aaron came forward to the altar and slaughtered his calf of purgation offering. Aaron's sons brought the blood to him. He dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar. And he poured the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. The fat, the kidneys, and the protuberance of the liver from the purgation offering, he turned into smoke on the altar, as the Eternal had commanded Moses. And the flesh and the skin were consumed in fire outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering. Aaron's sons passed the blood to him, and he dashed it against all sides of the altar. They passed the burnt offering to him in sections, as well as the head, and he turned it into smoke on the altar. He washed the entrails and the legs and turned them into smoke on the altar with the burnt offering. Next, he brought forward the people's offering, took the goat for the people's purgation offering and slaughtered it, and presented it as a purgation offering like the previous one. He brought forward the burnt offering and sacrificed it according to regulation. Then he brought forward the meal offering, and taking a handful of it, he turned it into smoke on the altar, in addition to the burnt offering of the morning. He slaughtered the ox and the ram, the people's sacrifice of well-being. Aaron's sons passed the blood to him, which he dashed against every side of the altar, and the fat parts of the ox and the ram, the broad tail, the covering, the fat, the kidneys, and the protuberances of the livers. They laid these fat parts over the breasts, and Aaron turned the fat parts into smoke on the altar and elevated the breasts and the right thighs as an elevation offering before the Eternal, as Moses had commanded.
Okay, so this is not, I'm just gonna give you a pause for 1 second. This is not for the faint of heart. We said this last week too. If you are squeamish, if you're a vegetarian, this section of our readings is not for you, but we muddle through and we see the repetition. Marlene has read for us beautifully, and it's very detailed, what you do and what you do with the blood and who can partake, right? Very, very detailed. And then we come to the crescendo in our story. And this is where the scary music would be cued. So Marlene, will you just finish this off for us, please, if you would?
Aaron lifted his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he stepped down after offering the purgation offering, the burnt offering, and the offering of well-being. Moses and Aaron then went inside the tent of meeting. When they came out, they blessed the people, and the presence of the Eternal appeared to all the people. Fire came forth from before the Eternal and consumed the burnt offering and the fat parts on the altar. And all the people saw and shouted and fell on their faces. Now Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu each took his fire pan, put fire in it, and laid incense on it. And they offered before the Eternal alien fire, which had not been enjoined upon them. And fire came forth from the Eternal and consumed them. Thus they died at the instance of the Eternal. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Eternal meant by saying, through those near to me, I show myself holy and gain glory before all the people." And Aaron was silent.
Thank you. It is a lot that we just covered, and your well-placed is fitting. So you read through for us the very beginning of the sacrifices and how that was to look. And then we have this moment where Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, make an alien offering, right? They bring their own offering of fire, one that has not been commanded them, and they offer it before God and are in fact consumed, right? They are instantly. And what do we know? We know that Aaron was silent, right? So here are a couple of questions for us. What did Nadab and Abihu do that was so wrong? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to invite you please to unmute yourself. We're going to talk just for a couple minutes. Unmute yourselves and tell me, what do you think Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, did wrong? Why were they smoked? What do you think? What was their offense?
Well, they ad-libbed. They did their own thing that had not been commanded by God.
So that is what our sages say, right? That they brought a fire that wasn't asked. Right? Nobody asked them to bring this fire. That's what makes it foreign or alien, right? Is that a crime? Does the punishment fit the crime? Right? So they brought this fire that they shouldn't have. Should they have been killed? What do you think? Does it seem heavy-handed? I mean, it seems heavy-handed to me, right? It seems heavy. Did anybody else have any thoughts? No? Well, it's fitting actually, because Aaron's response was silence, right? So too, like yours, right? Aaron responded in silence, right? And our sages wonder, was he so shocked? Did he was he speechless, right? Did this punishment render him speechless? Others more pointedly say he thought that this is what Rashi said, that Aaron was silent and didn't complain, and he was rewarded. We're taught that he was rewarded, Aaron, for his silence. And Rashi, our sage, implies that Aaron actually understood within his lost divine judgment that the punishment did fit the crime, and that what in fact happened was that, here we will look, that they were, Nadav and Avihu were punished because they were impulsive, because they were arrogant, because they had a kind of ruthless ambition, a willfulness, and that they didn't just bring a foreign fire, but they brought a foreign fire because they thought it was better than what God had commanded. And that this was the reason for their punishment. And that not just that they thought their fire would be better, but that they thought the people would think their fire was better. And that would convince the people that they should be leaders, not Moses and Aaron. That their father and uncle shouldn't be leaders, but that they should be leaders because look how great this fire is that they were bringing, right? So it was that haughtiness, right? The fire that burned in them to succeed beyond the current leadership. It is a tricky message for us, right? That in fact was the reason for their punishment. So we're taught that they showed up at the sanctuary with their offerings, hoping really to impress the people, that they were arrogant also about their relationship to women. This is very interesting, that they thought that any woman would be happy to have them. This is what Leviticus Rabbah, a commentary on Leviticus, teaches us. Excuse me, I'm right here, if you can see my cursor, that our father's brother is king, our mother's brother is a prince, and our father is the high priest, and we are both deputy high priests. What woman could possibly be good enough for us, right? That they were seen as fiery in a not good way, and that they failed to communicate with each other and instead just acted on their own volition. They didn't take into account a system that was in place. Also a difficult message, right? What do we do when we think otherwise than, what is the line between conscientious objecting and anarchy, right? How do we understand that? And that they actually, the consequences that they suffered, their death, was because they went rogue, right? Essentially is what our commentators teach us. So here are a couple, and I'll leave you with this just before we turn to the end of our service. Here are a couple of very brief commentaries, kind of one sentence. Solomon ibn Gabriel teaches that ambition is bondage. I don't know about that one, right? What do we do if we don't have ambition, right? We're taught we have a Yetzer Hara and a Yetzer Tov, right? An evil inclination and a good inclination, and that we actually need the evil or the bad inclination, because without it, nothing would get done. If we didn't want to earn more, if we didn't want to achieve more, right? Buildings wouldn't get built and families wouldn't get made and success wouldn't happen for us to be able to donate, right? That there needs to be some moderation of that inclination, the Yetzer Hara, and that ambition needs to be done with measure, right? There's a Yiddish proverb, it's a beautiful one that says, look for cake and you lose your bread. Right? If you look too far afield, right? If you look for the shiny, the sparkly, the what's most glittery, that you miss what's going to sustain you, right? Ambition destroys its possessor and last from a vote. Do not seek greatness for yourself. Don't crave a seat at royal tables. The understanding is unless you've earned it, right? Unless you've earned it. So I wonder just before we close, what you think about Nadav and Avihu, and if you think that they were too haughty, that they were too fiery. Go ahead, you can, yeah, Marlene, please go ahead.
I have a question. That passage about what they said about how could any woman deserve them, was that actually in the Bible? And if so,
Midrash. Right.
Oh, so we don't really know. So for us, it was just all of a sudden, poof, they're gone.
Right. The rabbis had, right, the text that Lindsay read in the Hebrew just before it, and then the text that you read in the English, that's all the text gives us, right? Then our later sages went on to try to figure out what happened,
Yeah.
Why were they killed, right? What was so terrible, right? Was it a lesson in, listen, this is how we do things. God says, make an offering like this for this reason, and you do it, and you shouldn't stray? Or was it their intention that was punished, right? What motivated them to offer this? Not the alien fire itself, right? That's just a symbol of what in fact they were offering, right? Which was arrogance and conceit, and that they knew better, and that they were going to be better leaders than both their father and their brother, their father rather, and their uncle who was Moses, right? We don't really know a better leader than Moses, and Aaron wasn't a terrible second to him, right? Aaron was a compelling and wonderful leader in his own right? So what did it mean that Aaron's sons looked to unseat, our some of our finest leaders, right? And how do we understand that in context, right? How do we understand that?
And also I'm thinking that I think the punishment was like really harsh and cruel, in just my opinion, but maybe this was done on purpose to set a precedent, like for others, because they were punished in front of the entire community. So if anybody would misbehave like that, or they would be punished this way. So maybe
right, as a deterrent, right as a model, right?
The model, yeah.
A model of what not to do, right? An example of what.
Right.
Also, right. Yes, and a very troubling example to be set, right? Very, very heavy-handed, very heavy-handed.
I have a hard time with those with that, because, and I don't know if it's meant to be taken literally. I guess it is, but my understanding of Judaism is that there are ways to do things. Teach your sons how to behave.
Right. So how do we balance, right, the seemingly punitive nature of a God in parts of our text, and the loving and forgiving, right? The God who is endlessly loving and patient and forgiving, right? These are the words that we read at the High Holy Days every year that say, you can do it, right? You can be repentant. You can, right? There's tshuva to be made, right? And how do we balance those very carefully, right? How do we look in context at our Torah text, which was born out of a time and place, right? And a moment in history. And how do we understand that in our context now, what that narrative offers us and what kind of guidelines it gives us? Yes, Marlene, and how we teach and how we reframe and how we miss the mark and how we try again, right? And how we're, thank God, right, that we don't have thank God we don't have a personal God who works in that capacity anymore. Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to study. Lindsay, thank you.
I think Richard, I thought Richard unmuted. You want to say something?
Yes. I feel like it was the crime did fit, because I don't think their intention is pure. In all of the teachings we read, that they want, if you pray, make sure your intention is pure. Make sure that you're not doing it for yourself. I think they were punished because they were trying to subsede God's will, and only God would know if their intentions were pure or not.
Right, and you would stand in line with a lot of our early commentators who would say the exact same thing, right? That it wasn't actually just the fire, right? But it was their intention, right? It was what they were doing was in fact a kind of evil, right? They were looking to not just upset the balance, but not follow God's commands, right? In a time when we were figuring out how to be a people by way of the rules that God was setting out. Very much so. Very much so. Traditionally, that is what our commentators actually preached. That was exactly it. And then for us as moderns, right? How do we understand the coming together of our ancient texts? The commentators who provided the next layer of thinking, as you just mentioned, the next layer of thinking about it, and then where we are in the 21st century, and how do we both honor what it was and how it is now, right? With that understanding alongside. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to study, everybody. Let's turn to the end of our service to Elenu. We will continue. We know, right, the words for Elenu are, it is upon us, how fitting, right? It is upon us, our responsibility, our obligation to carry it forward, So we'll ask you please in body or in spirit to join us and to rise as we turn to the Elenu.
Halinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא סנגי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקי משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר בחיי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Excuse me.
It was a scary story. I agree. Catches my breath too. Let's turn our thoughts to our loved ones whom death has taken from us. We have had many in this last week and a half, and those who died at this season in this year past, in this season in years past as well. We open our hearts to the wider circles of loss in our community and in every place where grief touches the human family. This month, these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Harold Brownstein, brother of Jim Brownstein, Marjorie Shire, mother of Ann Leonard, Ruth Schildkraut, stepmother of Jay Schildkraut, John Borick, uncle of Diana Sorosky, our beloved temple member, Barbara DeCario, Blossom Voldman, mother of Jeffrey Voldman and grandmother of Mandy Warner, Mary Paikunka, mother of Tom Paikunka, Mark Scherer, uncle of Eric Brewer, Rick Steinberg, brother of Marcia Bolio, Howard Michael Seidel, brother of Grace Wolosowitz, and Eileen Kaplan, cousin of Arlene Weissenberg. Today marks a yahrzeit and anniversary of passing for Saul Babin, Leonard Baker, Catherine Bancroft, Samuel Berger, Morris Buchholz, Leah Brent, Shirley Brownstein, Irving Cooper, Carol Einbinder, Laura Feldman, Freda Feldman, Rosalind Forrest, Barnett Freed, Ada Gerber, Marjorie Gutnick, Louis Green, Richard Guion, Helen Hill, Anna Jewell, Lev Katz, Molly Levitt, Elmer Lewis, Esther Mutnick, Gail Nichtern, Robert Oster, Mara DeMaio Purdue, Annalise Rayburn, Jeffrey Ring, Malvin Ring, Henry Schlossberg, Ethel Schifrin, Myron Solomon, Arthur Stillman, Beryl Waldman, Freya Wildman, Rose Yaffe, and Deborah Zimmerman. If there are names that you would add to either list, or names that are better spoken aloud by you, please would you share that name aloud with us, or share that name in the chat box as we are remembering. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories all be for a blessing as we join together in the words of the mourner's Kaddish.
John and Phyllis, they unmuted. They shared, okay.
Richard Metzger.
Join together. Yid Kadal, Vid Kadash, Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach, Yerutei, V'yamlech Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalau, V'zman Kariv, V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah, Mevarach, Le'olam Umei Umaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnasei, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dekudashah, B'rihu, V'elam Kol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Da'amiran Be'alma, V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru. Amen. Shalom B'mramav, Huya Aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, as we join together and say, Amen. And please be seated. Please be seated. We hope that you will join us tomorrow morning. Those who are in the Torah Chanting Club with the cantor at 11 o'clock in the morning, religious school as usual, and at 7 p.m. for our first speaker in the Adult Ed series honoring the memory of Dennis Goldsmith. Tomorrow evening will be the Mystery and Majesty of the Dead Sea Scrolls with Dr. Joel Hoffman, a wonderful scholar and lecturer. And we hope that you will join us again next Friday night at 6 p.m. for our Erev Shabbat service. It is our Israel choral service with the cantor and all of you who have been a part of the chorus quite literally and figuratively. So join us in song as we celebrate Israel and all that is wonderful about her. And that is next week. And then a week today, we will be welcoming Madeline Zebrak. We're so excited, Zebrak family, that you're here today, and that this time next week you will be muzzle toving each other on Madeline's having become a bat mitzvah. Join us next week at 10:30. And I think that is it for me in terms of announcements. If you have any announcements, please feel free to unmute, or any celebrations, any accomplishments, please go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know.
Just want to thank Lindsay Hagan and Jerry Stenger for beautiful chanting, and everybody who chants every Saturday, and thanks for your additions. It's great.
We'll turn to our conclusions. I echo the cantor's words each week. It is a joy. It's a joy. And we turn to our concluding song. And I hope that you will join us. If it's your custom to rise, please join us as we turn to Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim tovim.
And you can be seated as we make motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As we're looking ahead to Yom Ha'atzmaut, the Israeli Independence Day, which is next Thursday, and we just commemorated Yom HaShoah, and next week Yom HaZikaron, Day of Remembrance, a Holocaust memorial service just was a few days ago. So this Israeli song Ani Be'ata, you can change the world, you and I. Shabbat Shalom.
We wish you a Shabbat Shalom, everybody. You can unmute yourselves and wish one another Shabbat Shalom. We hope you have a good and a healthy day and are able to enjoy the beautiful outdoors. And Shabbat Shalom to all. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, Cantor.
Shabbat Shalom, Jerry. Beautiful, beautiful bracha. Beautiful. Lindsay, Yasher Kochech.
Thank you very much for honoring me. Appreciate the aliyah.
The honor is ours, really, truly. Really, truly. Jill, you must be very proud. That's your mom, Lindsay? Is that your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I am. What a blessing to be with my daughter and my father. And I hope it's okay, Dad, that I share with them the upcoming occasion. Would that be okay? So Lindsay is blessed to have a grandfather so supportive and involved, who will also be turning 90 in June.
Amazing. Chazak, chazak, chazak. Right? We say, be strong, and go forward in strength. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you. Marilyn, good to see you. Shabbat Shalom.
Richard, thanks for joining us. Shabbat Shalom.
Beautiful service.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Anytime. You're welcome anytime. Anytime.
Thank you.
Lindsay, wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Really?
Yeah, 10 verses.
Yeah, it was so long. It was like, wow.
It was very fun to work on.
That was great.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shalom. Do one of these, Lindsay. Do one of these. Madeline, you're up next. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. Oops, she just signed off.
For a second.